In this video, I'm going to show you how I use the film look creator in Davinci Resolve. Okay, we have our image here. It is Blackmagic. So first things first, from Blackmagic, we're going to go to Davinci, because Davinci Resolve is the working space that we are grading in. And then the CST is Davinci to Rec 709. I'm going to do some basic corrections. I'm going to start with my contrast node. This is contrast and saturation. So I am only using contrast, pivot, and saturation here. I'm going to add contrast. I'm going to decrease pivot. So that's kind of like the pivot point of the contrast. You'll see it's going to open up the image. So I'm adding contrast even more, taking the pivot down. And then when I do that as well, I work with sat. So what I'm trying to do now is just get the image at a nice starting point. I'm looking at my scopes. Nothing's clipping. It's kind of in the middle there. I'm going with my eye on the monitor. Exposure looks fine to me. Balance, I'll go into the vector scope and I want my image to be kind of in the middle. I want this cross point to straddle my image. And how I'll do that is I'll go color wheels, offset, and I'm just going to pull it a bit down. So the entire image is a bit more centered. And then I'm also looking at my reference monitor to see if I like it. Before, after, that feels about right. So here's my correction. This is my starting image. Now I'm going to talk about the film look creator that Davinci has. And it's really good, to be honest. Like, I actually really like it. In my look node, I usually have two. I'll show you I have my film creator and then a node that's called blacks, which I'll talk about in a second. So the film look creator, obviously you have tons of stuff that you can pre-select and kind of do it that way. I personally really like to start with a clean slate. So you'll see if I turn on the clean slate, if I turn it on and off, nothing happens because it's clean. And with the clean slate, you manually make your adjustments, which I really like because you know exactly how you are manipulating your image. When you start playing around with these ones, like cinematic or bleach bypass, sometimes you kind of want to change a few things, but you don't know really what's causing what. So clean slate's the way to go. Now, the input color space is Davinci White Gamut because it's the timeline and Davinci White Gamut is going out. What type of look do I want my image to have? I kind of want a rich type of filmic look. That's the idea I have before I start playing around. And what I like to do on the look node is to make small adjustments. I don't want to create a crazy look here because maybe it works on this image, but it doesn't work on a next clip. So I kind of want to sprinkle in like the essence of the look in this node. And now I'm honestly just playing around. What I tend to like doing is add a bit of contrast. I'm also definitely looking at my parade. Like you can even see, let me take this contrast off. And let me just reset this real quick. Reset, clean slate. Okay, you see nothing's changing. You can start blending. I actually kind of like Rochester look that's in. And you'll see throughout this tutorial, I'm going to make small adjustments on a lot of things. It's not just one type of adjustment and then everything is fine. I like fade. What that does is you'll see at the bottom of the image, kind of lifts the blacks a bit. I like making my image a bit warmer. You'll feel the richness a lot more if you do that. So I'm doing a little bit of a micro adjustment here, turning on and off. Okay, so it's a bit warmer. If I want that filmic type of look, halation is always your friend. So I'm going to go halation. I don't want it to be saturated because I don't want my highlights to be a different color than my grade actually. I don't like it. So I'm going to add a bit of halation there. I'm going to go down to grain. And with grain, I'm not going to add any grain, but I'm going to use this image defocus because you'll see in filmic kind of grades or movies or whatever you want to call it, it's always a bit defocused. Now I'll come back to my subtractive saturation and you'll see the more I push this right, the more saturated my whole image is going to get and also darker. But it's going to increase the saturation of all the colors. Richness takes what's there and adds density to it. I'll show you the difference. If I go subtractive saturation and go crazy, everything is getting saturated. You can see here, especially the blues, look how noisy that gets in the shirt. I'm not sure if you can see it there, but it gets really noisy. What I like to do is add a bit of sat, but then the richness is the one that I really like. I'm going to play around with it a bit. I'm going to say that feels kind of good. And from here to here, we're definitely moving in that direction. A big thanks to today's sponsor, Audiio. If you haven't heard about Audiio yet, it's one of the best places to get licensed music from. They have this really cool feature called Elements. So if you find something, right, you're like, okay, cool, this is nice, this is good for the project. It allows you to download specific stems of that song. It breaks it down into, let's say, vocals, melody, or guitar, and you can individually download those and then mix. So it gives you crazy crazy flexibility of how you can manipulate those songs depending on what your project needs. If this is something that's interesting to you, please use the code RENAR70 for 70% off the first year of membership. This membership of the Audiio Pro includes unlimited music, you have sound effects download, unlimited link match AI searches, and elements that I just talked about. And now back to the video. So split toning is going to create more depth in your image. That's kind of what I want to create. In my look, I want it to feel filmic, I want it to feel rich, but I also want to create as much separation as I can. And I can already see here there's blue and there's yellow. There's blue and there's yellow. And that's the type of colors I'm going to play with now. So I go enable split toning, amount full. So this is very intense. I'll play with the hue angle to see what type of split toning I want. Do the pivot to see how much of the image, like where it's affecting what. And then just kind of play around with it. Maybe what I'll do for this one is I kind of want to do the blue-yellow combination. And once I find the split tone that I like, that's when I pull the amount down. Because when the amount is here and you try and figure it out, it's actually kind of really hard to see what the split toning is doing. So go full, you figure out your angle and your pivot. You see here, if I take it off, it's adding more depth to the shot. Let's see what vignette does. Vignette I sometimes use. I don't overly use it. It does give it a bit more of a cinematic type of feel, but I don't want to darken my image too much. I do not touch bloom really because it's like, I think it gets too hectic for me. Personally, it becomes too, it kind of like layers on the halation. Halation is fine. Go global, do. And now I'm here. Okay, it's kind of nice. We started here. So there's definitely a type of a feel and a look that I kind of like. You can see the grade isn't too insane. All the colors are still there. Nothing's clipping. I might just tinker a bit here and see what I can do here with the richness. I don't want to go too crazy. I feel like it's actually a good look. It's nice. You'll see it doesn't push any of the colors too crazy because remember this look has to be applied to all your footage, so it can't be too nuts. Nice. So this will be my look for my project. What I do in blacks is sometimes when you create a look, it adds almost too much color, and you'll see with your eye when a color is darker or like the darker environment, it has less saturation. Things that are dark and that have a lot of saturation doesn't feel right because your eye doesn't interpret that in the real world. So even here, it's doing stuff here, and I'm not sure if you can see that on YouTube. It's actually just kind of like pulling down that a bit. You'll see it here. You'll see it here. Okay, so this is without the look and this is with the look. Now, if I want to go crazy, if I want to create like a crazy look, I would go back into the clip and then manually manipulate each clip. You know, we can even just call this like hues, right? It's like hue colors, and there I can start going insane. Now, if I want the density more, if I'm like, I really want to punch this up, or maybe I want to punch some colors up. So let us see what colors we can kind of manipulate that it still feels nice. Let's play with the reds. We can make those reds really go crazy. Ooh, but you got to watch out. It starts getting noisy here. We can start playing the ratio of saturation. Kind of see what do we want to bring up. Let's say we really want to bring up the blues even more, which you just have to watch out for because it can get noisy. Let's see if I want to do this and do that. And like, this is like extreme, right? I wouldn't leave it there, but I just wanted to show you if you really want to push it, you do it on the clip level, not on the timeline. Because like I said, if you do it on the timeline, some clips might just break. That's kind of nice. So we went from nothing, Rec 709, to a look. There you go. I would definitely implore you to play with all these things. Play with all these things. All these little guys. You make micro adjustments everywhere and you kind of feel what you like. The main takeaway from here, I'd say, is the split toning. Just go crazy amount, split tone a little bit, introduce a little bit. Even if your look here is a bit too much, you can always go down and go to the global blend, and then you can say how much of it needs to be in your footage. And that's how I use the film look creator in Davinci Resolve.